And we're live. So, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Fellows in ARMS, a podcast about the Nintendo Switch game ARMS, if you couldn't tell by the name. And with me today, I have two new guests and another one from episode 2. And I guess we can begin with you, RobotoBoy, since we might have a few more new followers this time around. You could perhaps give us a little bit of an introduction of yourself.
I own a shop out in Oklahoma, and I run tournaments and stuff out of there for locals and stuff. I have the biggest local Smash Weekly, Tulsa Smash outlet. We run that out of our shop and stream it with the tournament organizer Kaze. We also work with other organizations around the area. But really, with ARMS, I'm mostly related in that I translate a lot of the tweets for everybody through like the Discord and Reddit. So, in fact, one of our guests here, you've been relying on me pretty heavily for translations.
Yeah.
So, that's pretty much what I do. I just work as a game shop owner and event organizer.
I'm sorry, there was like a big horn in the background of me. I thought my computer was dying there for a second, but no. And I
sounds
had
like an emergency to me.
Yeah, no, it was just, I think it was someone with a really loud horn. I don't know if you can hear that in the background for me. Can you hear that?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
It's like, it sounds like, you know, those tests they have for military reasons, so I hope, I better call up Sir Alligator and check so it's not the Russians coming in. No. Alright. Yeah, sorry about that. So we can continue with Eizak. Perhaps you can tell us a bit more about yourself.
So I'm Eizak. I'm not really, I don't really have anything too specific job in terms of the game. I'm just a big enthusiast for the game a lot. Consider myself very involved with the Discord, a lot of digging into the lore. For the American side of things, since we don't really have the translation, so trying to figure it out and interact with the community regarding it. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. We need those lore researchers because, well, I have lost track of a lot of stuff, so I actually have to rely on your posts, both you, Eizak, and RobotoBoy. Yeah, we can continue on to JayNite as well.
Yeah, I'm JayNite, and you guys might recognize me from a few of the videos I put on YouTube. So I made more in-depth YouTube videos, including like my bite and bark guide and my guide for how to wide grab on controller and a few other things like that. Plan to make more in the future, and I help out with the main ARMS Discord as well as the bite and bark Discord, which I'm the owner of. So I try to stay pretty involved and help people learn how to play the game, and also try to stay up there myself at a high level, currently rank 14 with the bite and bark. So just trying to do the best I can while also helping out other people generally is what I do.
Yeah. All right. So there's kind of a lot of things to discuss today. At the beginning of this week, I was kind of wondering what we would discuss, and then at the end of the week, I had so many topics that I wanted to cover. But a few of the things that we'll talk about today is the 2GGC ARMS Saga, the upcoming update, which is in the 12th of July, and then we'll talk a bit about the gloves and the tier lists and kind of what people are playing with right now. Then perhaps we'll get a bit of a lore update from RobotoBoy and Eizak as well, because we all need that, I think. And then after that, we'll just do some, if anyone has a question from the chat or anything, just write it in the chat, and we'll discuss it afterwards. So, oh yeah, and if anyone hasn't seen the 2GGC ARMS Saga, like VODs or anything, or planning to, there will be spoilers, so just for future references and the VOD reasons there. Spoilers.
Spoilers.
So, 2GGC ARMS Saga was yesterday, and it was the first, I would say, premier tournament for ARMS that wasn't hosted by Nintendo. So it was a really interesting, like, I guess, checkpoint for the ARMS community to see actually, like, how much of an interest it could bring, like, for people to come in and watch it for the first time when it's not on E3 and, you know, kind of isolated by Nintendo and their high production value. See how players are playing, and just
production value.
Yeah, production value is something that was kind of interesting at the tournament yesterday. I don't know who wants to go first with that one. I don't know if RobotoBoy, maybe you can take the lead on that.
I mean, it did start off pretty bad, but you gotta hand it to them. They put two guys who had never really played the game before on commentary, and the technical issues. The primary thing for 2GGC is Smash. That's their primary deal. The ARMS thing was definitely a secondary event. It wasn't really like they weren't focusing on. That's why it's a 2-day event for Smash. So you got to give them some amount of leeway on that. And then because as it went on, they got Zerk and what's his name? I can't remember. D1. Yeah. The guy with Zerk though, he was pretty good too. They weren't like knowledgeable. Zerk was pretty knowledgeable, but a few of them weren't knowledgeable, but they were learning.
Right.
The first two guys were pretty bad, and the technical issues were really bad too. But Nintendo's was really bad too. Nintendo's wasn't
that's
great.
fair.
So,
I think
I'd say it's just getting off its feet. I wouldn't criticize it too harsh.
Yeah.
Definitely towards the end and the middle and the end of the event, it got way better in my opinion. The event was much hyper at that point. So,
yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm really happy that the commentators really gave it. They were giving the game a big chance, even though it was majorly a Smash tournament. So I really like the reception and kind of the way they handled the whole thing. Where I guess compared to the first two commentators, they were talking about everything besides ARMS. They're like, "Oh, I'm going to talk about Marvel Infinity, all that stuff."
Yeah.
But it was just like
DBZ, they were talking about DBZ and Mirrors and Smash.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Yeah, but definitely as it went on, it was like, well, I mean, you can definitely see that some of the people where they were really starting to kind of grasp it and start to see the passion behind the players, and you could see the better players and how competitive play will start to turn out in the end, and how it can actually be quite exciting. People are starting to doubt that, until now, I would say.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it got much more exciting toward the end. It was very fast paced.
I think that's actually one thing that I've been thinking about now, because I've been meeting with the Swedish Smash community and planning tournaments for ARMS here in Sweden. And one of the things that I've been thinking about is how actually fast-paced and effective ARMS is of isolating rounds and actually just pushing a tournament in terms of speed, compared to any other game basically. So you have StarCraft, for example, where there's a best of 3, and the best of 3 can actually be 2 hours, or even games such as Smash, where people are holding out on stocks and it takes a really long time. Then you have this ARMS tournament now, where it's always 99 seconds, and someone will win, and if it's a draw, it's just another 99 seconds. It was something that I was noticing, because it took I guess it was 50 participants in the tournament. I don't know, maybe someone correct me if I'm wrong, but
it was 50.
Yeah, and I was watching it and I didn't really grasp the bracket size. But then after some hour or so, I just looked back and it's it's the final top 8, and I was like, holy shit! In Counter-Strike, that takes an entire week because they have to play group stages.
That's normal for fighting games. That's pretty normal for fighting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They go way faster than shooters and stuff, so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but if you were to compare it to Smash, it's definitely a lot faster.
Yeah.
It is
but
faster.
That's a small subset, yeah.
But in terms of the actual, because in the previous episodes we have talked a lot about actually the rule sets, default versus all ARMS basically, and so this was the first non-Nintendo tournament with default ARMS. What were your guys' thoughts about that? Maybe Eizak, you can share your opinions of that a bit as well.
Yeah, I definitely think there's something you can notice, and it definitely applies to the whole ARMS default versus all ARMS thing, is how well the game is weighted towards just picking up and playing, and it's all of the way the game is set up basically is very tournament style, like you said before, and it's sort of like having to limit characters. There's sometimes, maybe not in the most top level tournaments, but in general you'll see I think something that applies to Smash, you'll see people only using obviously a meta will develop, but you'll see people using certain characters, and then in smaller tournaments you'll see people trying to push for, say, imbalanced or characters that are too good being like pushed away, and the game does a very good job of making it possible to use whatever you want. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think the Springman winner, he used this 2 toasters most of the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like the most. That's like what they showed in the reveal trailer. Those are like the first arms you ever see, and I think
yeah,
the
that's
fact
a good
that
point,
someone can actually win with that definitely is one of those things that separates the really good competitive games from the ones that people have to go out of their way to turn into tournaments.
Yeah.
And just because you usually never see default things in games being like the best or what people would consider like exclusively using.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really more about the player, and so I do kind of get why they would want to limit people using all arms, because it would create it would allow people to get an advantage that isn't based on their personal skill.
Yeah.
And so with default arms, it's everyone. You're really only going to see the best players win, not the people who had the best character and the best arms.
I see. I remember RobotoBoy. You were talking about, like, we were discussing this in previous episodes, and you were kind of saying that you were also kind of for default arms, but then I read that you actually switched and now you're against, or not against, but you're more for not default arms. So would you like agree with that, or?
I feel like when I first came to the argument, I came to the argument from the aspect of Soul Calibur didn't allow customs, Tekken doesn't allow items that give you moves. Most games that have customs do not allow it because it screws with the balance. But I think that with ARMS, it actually, like, I don't know. Okay, so like as I've watched people online, I've kind of realized that the custom ARMS isn't so bad. Like the double blorbs are used in Japan pretty consistently, and that, you know, everybody here on the Discord and in the Reddit have talked about how blorbs are garbage, and I'm like, I don't think they are.
Yeah.
Like I've watched them win, so
Yeah.
I personally think that I don't think we know what the balance is yet. I think it's too young for us to really restrict anything yet. And honestly, I was for default arms at first because of the concept of so many possibilities being a problem. But I think it's too young to put that restriction up. So, but I do think that from a logistical standpoint, that places like 2GGC, etc., will have to run it on default. It's just too nuts.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. I mean, considering the logistics of the event, then it's kind of logical, but of the aspect of like what should be or what needs to be. But yeah, I understand what you mean. And how about you, JayNite? I actually don't know your stance about this.
I was one of those people that made a big thread on Reddit about my support for default arms, and you know, as is typical, I kind of got blasted for it, which, you know, because most people,
I face the same.
of course, most people are for customs. I don't think that customs are inherently bad. My standpoint is, I think that my main point I would put forward is that the default format is a good format, and I think that the characters have sets that are balanced around them having those arms. Like, for example, you look at Kid Cobra, he has giant arms, but his default arms are like 2 curve arms and a light straight arm, which is the Hydra. Yeah. So he doesn't really have any like direct medium arms. So he needs to like play in a more indirect way, which balances out him having larger arms.
And like Bite and Bark, they have that if he gets knocked down for 5 seconds, he's out of an ability, but he has some of the best arms in the game. Yeah. So it really helps like counteract that. Yeah.
And he has smaller arms too. So like, that's another reason why he has very good arms. So I think as a whole, if you look at each character, that does kind of hold true. But besides that, I would say my main concern is that custom arms could potentially make the game less of character matchups, and in such a way that it makes the characters less distinct from each other. Yeah. Which I think is kind of a shame, because then you turn the characters into more of like a what mobility option do I want to use instead of like what character do I want to play. Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of my stance on the issue, and we'll have to see if that ends up being the case or not. Yeah. But I think there's a lot of issues that could come forward and really kind of invalidate some of the design that's part of the game.
I think one of the things that will kind of be looking for in the future updates is kind of, because we can talk how much we want about the default versus custom, but then in the end, if there's never going to be a tournament mode in the game, then it's going to be hard for tournaments, especially offline tournaments, to have custom arms. So I think it's like, and that's why I kind of wanted to discuss it here as well, because I don't know if the Japanese Nintendo people will watch this, but so there's actually like an opinion from the community.
There is an argument. There is an argument in Japan. I've actually been talking to a few of my Japanese friends, and they've actually been talking about it. So they think default arms are how you should play it.
Okay.
That seems to be the large consensus there. Unlike here where it's all custom, they like the default concept. And the reason they said that, like JayNite said, it adds unique concepts to the characters. Like that's the character's moveset. Yeah. When you could just funnel the best movesets into the same characters, you're going to see the same movesets on every character. Yeah. And that gets really boring. Like it's similar to like if you gave everybody in Street Fighter a Shoryuken and a Hadouken, it would get really dull.
No.
If they all acted the exact same, it would get really boring really fast because you'd be seeing a bunch of Ryus that move differently. That's it, like you said. It's really that concept. But there are proponents for custom arms in Japan. I think the big reason that they don't like the customs is because most of their events have been customs only.
Oh, okay.
And so
it's like the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's just too young to really know. I honestly do. I was very on the default train. I'm not really on any train now. I'm very much just in the air about it.
So my take on is so yesterday, not only was it the 2GGC ARMS Saga, it was also the first Up in ARMS tournament, which was an online tournament, and I think
which I forgot to sign up for.
It was.
I was like 1 hour late. I was like, oh no, I missed my deadline.
Yeah, it was one of the online tournaments, and I think it actually. So there was one, the 2GGC ARMS Saga. Then there was the New York tournament. There was an offline tournament as well, and then there was the Up in ARMS. The three that I recognized, but. Then lately I found out that there are tournaments all of the time, but I don't know about them actually. So in the Up in ARMS tournament, one thing that I kind of liked seeing from it was a custom arms in that tournament, since it was online. It's up to everyone to get their arms. One of the things that I really liked, because I actually got to play a few games and I didn't just get straight away knocked out, was that. Even though there was a lot of possibilities for mind games when picking the arms, because in the selection process of the maps, now I don't remember how it was in 2GGC ARMS Saga, but basically you took turns, like when you first talked to your opponent, you would present, okay, I play with this character with these arms, and then you would ban pick of the maps. And then the other player would say, yeah, I use this character with these arms. And then if you lose, then you could change, and you could change your arms. So you could basically, if there's like one arm that you don't like or you have a problem with the other character, you could try to find a way to mind game and switch it. But then they could switch again. So it's and then there's this kind of dynamic where you're kind of looking at the... kind of a deeper layer of the game where they're kind of mind gaming each other before the match actually starts. If that makes sense.
I think you're right to some extent, but I think it's different. I don't think it's deeper. I think it's different. If you play other fighting games, you play Tekken.
Yeah.
In Tekken, you're not allowed to change your moveset.
Yeah.
You're using the same different characters, with movesets. So I think that it's just two different kind of things. One is matchup and skill on execution, and how well they're going to execute and mind games in that direction. And the other one is mind games in the direction of kind of a rock, paper, scissors. Yeah. I'm going to play something very hard for you to deal with, but not. It's a different type of mind game. So I think both have their merits, defaults and customs, as far as their actual mind games at depth. But I don't think that one is more deep than the other, personally.
Okay. Yeah.
I do want to add on top of that, and... Again, I think we have a similar perspective because I think we both come from similar fighting game backgrounds where we both played more in-depth fighting games like Street Fighter or Guilty Gear or Tekken.
Guilty Gear, love Guilty Gear.
Yeah, Guilty Gear is a great game. I love it. I played Potemkin personally. But anyways,
I'm sorry.
Grapplers.
He's hard to play.
Okay. Anyways. But basically, basically the idea being that like I said, it becomes less of a character matchup type thing, and when the game becomes more of a thing where you're preemptively choosing stuff against your opponent rather than basically let me reiterate. When you have all these different types of arms, it's like you have a different matchup every time you switch arms. And when you have the defaults, then you're just refining using your character and refining your knowledge about matchups against other characters. When you have the custom arms, the matchups can just change so drastically and so often that the game isn't really about learning the matchups and refining gameplay in a certain way where you focus on the characters themselves. It becomes more ARM versus ARM, and I guess that's kind of the idea.
Yeah.
With custom being more ARM focused and default being more character focused,
But
and
very
really
much so,
what
very
ends
much
up
so.
being like better in your.
That's a
opinion.
good point. I think that actually that's makes me think of that. Because Nintendo has been pushing the combinations of the arms, like there's thousands of combinations, and now when you're saying that, like custom would be kind of then you have more arm combinations, and that's what Nintendo wants, right? But is that enough to make them have a tournament mode? I guess is the kind of defining factor. Nice.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. So when you guys were looking at the tournament yesterday, what do you? In case I'm kind of running back, we were starting to talk about default and customs, but the 2GGC ARMS Saga there, what do you think? What was the good things about this tournament? Because there was a lot of complaints about the production value, but it got better as we went on. But was there anything that you kind of thought was good at already, or that could have been better, or can be better to the next time, if there is a next time? I guess. Has anyone thought anything about that?
I really just think the game needs a little more time to get off the ground. I do think that it was ran pretty well. I think that it started off with a lot of hiccups, but I do think that it got a lot better over time. It's a new game. There's not a lot of people that play it yet. We're trying to get more players into the game. New games. They always have this kind of problem. The big thing is making sure the community accepts people. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking, when I saw the tournament and was watching it from the beginning there, since I don't know any players, I don't one of the main things I love about esports basically is that I can follow the story of a person or a team. I actually am not super interested in Counter-Strike, for example, but I love Ninjas in Pajamas because 3 players there have they've been playing the game for 13 years, and they're
It's a great name.
Yeah, I know, but and they're legends. So when you see one of those guys crying, you're Sweden, but I don't really care about it otherwise. And it's the same thing in StarCraft, when you have this one player that you can follow. So for me, when I watched the tournament, it was just kind of well, I guess we have to have this. It's a checkpoint, or a milestone that we have to have our first tournament. But I don't really care about what's going on in it. When I saw the commentators in the beginning there that were kind of bragging of how bad they were in the game, I don't know where they got that initiative from, but I have never heard hey man, can you comment this tournament and then just state how bad you are at it? Because they were both saying oh, I'm rank 4, I don't play this game. Okay. And then the chat was raging kind of immensely while they were talking about it. But
I mean, it's fair, right?
Yeah,
I've had similar problems with casters before. I had a caster who was watching. It's 1010. He's in the chat.
Oh, hello, hello, Tentaman.
But we had a caster for Street Fighter V who would never shut up about Mortal Kombat the whole time. I was I had to kick him out. I was man, I can't have you out here anymore. You just keep talking about Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, I had the flashbacks
happen.
Of the. I think it was. I don't know if you guys know about Day 9, but there's a StarCraft player, and he and his brother were playing a game, and they had like a tournament sponsored by Intel, and they had like a marketing guy from Intel commentating Brood War, which is like one of the most complex games out there. And then they were like, no, hey Intel guy, I can commentate instead of you, and then everything got better. And it seems like that's what they did. They actually listened to the chat and was like, yeah, wait, let's just put Cirque there, and everyone was like, yay, here he is. But what, was he actually paid to go there? Because I remember seeing that they had this like compendium.
He wanted to go there. They had people like fundraised. They fundraised to get money for him to go there.
That's how 2GG kind of does stuff. So.
It was kind of funny because like, didn't he get knocked out instantly in the game? Or
Zerk? Yeah, he got put in losers really fast.
I mean, he wasn't that good in the initial E3 tournament, in my opinion. So.
Yeah, he was the best there.
He was the best there of everyone. I was really bad.
I mean,
like I watched the tournament. I'm like, I'd only played the test punches, and I could beat any of these guys.
He was really good at commentating, though. I really have to give him that. I think he had
was pretty good.
Yeah, like it was just kind of flowing when he and now I forgot the other guy's name. Sorry, but yeah, when they were talking,
he understands the fundamentals really well. I think that helped.
Yeah,
the fundamentals are very core. So
yeah.
Well, all you gotta do is have a commentator that actually knows what they're talking about, right?
Right. That's all you're really gonna have.
It's important.
Yeah. So, so this was kind of the first milestone with 2GC's ARMS Saga and the Up in ARMS tournament, and there's like a lot of things coming right away. So it was kind of nice to see, like, this is the first version of the game. Now we saw a tournament in that, and now there's an update coming next week, on the 12th of July. Which will contain I think it's a lot of stuff. Basically, it'll be Max Brass, which is the 11th character. If I understood it correctly, it was like a new game mode as well. And recently, there's been also like the tweets of the items and stuff. And I thought we could bring up, just for the hype's sake, we can bring up the Max Brass video here, and let's just check him out for a second.
Chest.
The video paused. I don't know what happened there.
Oh, I see that on screen.
Yeah, it was just like dead. That's really funny. Okay, that's production values. Like, I'm complaining of the 2GGC ARMS Saga. I'm sorry. I regret everything. Anyways, so I don't know. Like, I guess RobotoBoy, you're the guy to ask about this, but. Did I miss something about the update? So there's a new game mode. There's a new character. Do we know anything else about? Is it going to be like balance checks or anything like that?
So they did say during the Japanese online tournament they were running, they ran a Mr. Yabuki. Or Yabuki-san. He was talking about how they're planning to balance things already based on that actual tournament. They said Bub and Buff were used a lot, so. They're definitely going to go through and look, and Hydra too, they looked at that too. And they said they're definitely going to go through and balance things with the Max Brass patch as well as releasing him. The other thing that they are already hinting at is a new item, which is Headlock. It looks like they're adding a Headlock as an item to party mode, which I think is kind of cool, but kind of like, oh god, why? And then they're adding statistics, which is really cool. So we can actually look at our own win rates, our hit rate, what arms we use the most, that kind of thing, so that we can measure our performance better than just I'm rank 15.
As soon as I saw the statistics mode, I was like, oh, thank God for Akiosho's sake, because he was like using pen and paper to write down all his wins and losses and all the statistics for him. So I'm just like, oh, thank God, now he doesn't have to do that anymore.
And it looks like it's going to record them back to your last 100 matches, so it's like quite in depth. So it doesn't look like
limited.
Got that hero's path type thing last 100 hours.
But will you be able to check the other players' statistics as well, or is it just your own?
They didn't say anything about that. Okay. They just showed checking statistics on a character for yourself. So
Because
They didn't show anything about checking other players. They did say you can compare. They said compare statistics with other players, which I thought was kind of like, I don't know what they meant by that, but they didn't say, you can do it. They just said
I don't
compare.
know if it's like screenshot.
Yeah.
I see. Because like the thing I was wondering about, if there are statistics, then let's say there's like a tournament with like custom arms tournament, and there are like famous players, then the players will be able to like check the statistics of like someone's practice and everything like that. That would be like super awesome to see, like, oh, this guy, he only uses like the blob or stuff like that, and then you can just like prepare for him or something.
We know Nintendo actually keeps track of statistics. They already mentioned that they do. They like keep track of literally everything. Most commonly, used arms, most commonly used characters. They keep track of all that stuff. How successful those arms are. They said they're actually keeping track of that themselves. Oh, wow. So it's not that surprising they're adding it into the game so that we can look ourselves, because it's kind of unfair if the devs can look and we can't. Competitive scene has a hard time getting off the ground without data. Yeah. So. Yeah.
It's kind of like Big Brother is watching, like big Onisan Nintendo. But
Yabuki's watching over as well.
I was kind of wondering, like, with Max Brass sorry.
I accidentally called him Mac Brass the other day.
Or All Might, just whatever you want to call him. I'm actually thinking
I'm gonna call him Mac Brass.
Mac Brass, and
you're a good cop, McBrass.
I was kind of wondering, like, when he's joining the roster now, do you think he will have like an impact on how the other, like, the ladder and just the game in general? Because like when a new character is added to, let's say, Overwatch, then at least they do it on a different server, so you can test that character and everyone can just use them all the time. But then when it actually comes into the game, there's this like at least 1 or 2 weeks where everyone is trying to play this character, and and it's gonna be interesting. But after that, do you think like, what are your predictions, seeing that, like, Kid Cobra has been like dominating the top ranks, for example, for a long time? Kid Cobra, Min Min, and Ribbon Girl, I think, is like the top ones, or like the ones that you see a lot of in the ranked matches.
I think it's mostly like Cobra, and then like the others are pretty like well distributed. A little bit more Min than the rest, but like Kid Cobra and then the rest are kind of even. Except for like Mummy and Mechanica, they're pretty low.
Yeah.
But the rest is pretty even, I think.
Except in Japan, where Mechanica is actually very popular.
Yeah.
She even won the Japanese online tournament.
I was kind of basing it off the Japanese leaderboard, I think.
You mean
if I looked at it correctly? Yeah.
I'm actually thinking
mostly Kid Cobra.
I'm actually thinking that like the Mechanica is, it's not that she's good, but all the Japanese fans like her so much that they just play her too much, so she becomes one of the like top ranked players. While in the West it's like, oh, it's just a little girl. But then I'm not gonna judge Japanese culture too much here, but I'm just saying. But it was really interesting to see, actually, that she is someone that is, I guess you would say, considered viable. But except for like Max Brass entering the roster, his arms will as well. Are you guys, like, any of you excited about the new arms, or do you think that any of the arms will like be well applicable to another character or stuff like that?
I think the Fire Hammer will replace the Whammer, but that's about all I think.
That's pretty likely. Yeah.
Wait,
that's really it.
So
what's the explosive hammer?
What's the Whammer's, like, the current, like the Whammer? It's
stun.
Stun. Okay, so it's like the
which
tribal,
is not electric. Not electric. Yeah, it's like the tribal, where it's just a frame of stun.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it can lead into rushes, so I mean.
But on a slow weapon, it's kind of.
Well, if you activate rush, it does quick retract, so it can still work. If you combo to the other arm and then go in, like it works. But I think just for like characters that want to have like safe on block, explosive is like as safe as you can get on block, for example. So like I would imagine that Bite and Bark might want to use it. Yeah, I've seen some like Bite and Barks, or just like characters that are a bit more like light.
Yeah, I think
like because the Whammer is kind of out there being a counter to Hydra.
Yeah.
Like I remember you, RobotoBoy, saying that you were almost considering that your main was Max Brass before even him being released. Like, is that something you've also like switched your opinion of? Because I was super hyped about Max Brass when I saw him. I was like, fuck yeah, All Might! I'm gonna be switching my nick and everything. And then the more I see of him, I'm like, but when he's buffed up, I kind of get like, I see Master Mummy in him, and I really can't play Master Mummy, so I'm just like,
No.
please, I don't want to switch to Master Mummy, kind of thing. I don't know. What do you think?
I think super armor sucks right now. That's what I think.
All right.
I think it's not very
it's
good.
actually a hindrance.
Yeah, I don't think
how
it's very
so?
good yet.
It makes you die to Seiki.
Yeah,
Oh.
but like anything that has any hard knockdown, which is like a lot of the weapons, is gonna just nullify it anyway. So it's not even.
'Cause there's a lot of fire out there with like Cracker and Hydra. Yeah, that just goes straight through armor. It makes you more vulnerable to multi hits. Makes you take more damage.
Electric.
Sometimes. Electric always stuns you, even if you're in the air.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a lot of just things that make super armor are actually bad to have.
But
It is, yeah.
So would you consider it like, does it need a balance change then? Would you say?
Yeah,
Or...
I think super armor needs. I think it needs a buff. I think it needs to be better than it is. It's really bad now.
It should downgrade the instant knockdowns to a flinch.
Yeah.
Wait, so do you mean that they wouldn't be knocked down at all, or?
Yeah.
It turns the fire into like a normal hit, like it flinch instead of like an instant knockdown.
Because
it would
when
just
they have
give them more options.
Because like if they get hit with a normal weapon, they just kind of don't phase.
Yeah.
But if they get hit with something like Tribolt, they stun, kind of like that, or hit twice when they hit them twice with the super armor, they still flinch.
Yeah.
It's like that, but the fire would just cause a flinch, which would allow you to at least double hit knockdown. So.
So if you did commit both 2 arms, you still knock them down.
Right.
Like the
But you have to commit much more to it, and it gives it more.
Because like super armor is supposed to be like a bait. Like Master Mummy needs to bait with blocking or like armor, but he really can't do that because the game isn't really in his favor.
No.
I think I agree on a theoretical level, but as a springman that uses the grip controller and have a hard time like angling around heavy arms, that makes me like super scared because like a lot of the times when I'm playing springman and I'm facing like Mechanica and Master Mummy, which usually has a heavy arm, I have a lot of trouble like kind of like my only thing that I can do is that I can like knock them down before the heavy thing hits me. So if they can't be knocked down, I think that like I don't know, maybe it'll be more difficult, but I don't know. I think I was actually wondering if they should like actually like buff the health of the big characters, but that might be too much as well. I don't know.
Yeah.
If they made the super armor better, it would mean technically they have more health, so it's not really that big of an issue.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. So you're saying, RobotoBoy, that your main won't be Max Brass then? It's confirmed?
I might still make him my secondary just because I like him, but I was making Ninjara my secondary for a while, but he's so weird. I don't know how to play him very well.
Yeah, no.
So
I've only made the Twintel my secondary because Twintel, but otherwise I'm thinking like that All Might is probably gonna be my secondary as well, just to have some kind of. I don't want to play Springman right now, but I kinda do, so I need to play something similar.
Hey guys, all the characters that have super armor, they start with the letter M.
No.
They do. Oh my god,
it's a conspiracy.
It's hey Eizak, there's the lore.
Yeah.
Easy.
Right?
Oh my god. So with the new update that's coming out, we've actually been talking a bit about the balance and everything as well. But there was gonna be a new game mode. Do you have is there any wishes that you would have or in the game right now? That's as for game modes, that is.
Tournament mode. As
Tournament.
an organizer,
Whoa!
I want tournament mode.
There you go.
I think it would make everybody happier, including myself. I wouldn't have to get chewed out for only doing defaults at locals.
Yeah.
That's actually good.
At least to make it so you can more easily select your stage in arena.
Yeah.
Just pull up the thing in versus where you select your stage out of the ones that are available. And you go boo 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 and you pick your stage.
I think,
And make it so you don't have to go to the options and cross out all the stages every time.
Yeah, I
It
think
would at least be a nice thing.
there are a lot of small things in the game that right now feels kind of like they didn't really think it through. Like if you kind of what is it? If you cancel like ranked search and then you go into a mode and then go back, it prompts you with like, do you want to search again? And they're like, no, I just told you that I don't want to search. And it just, I don't know, there's a lot of those kind of, I don't know, user experience things that but those aren't a game mode. But I would say like but yeah, tournament mode would probably be the one that I wanted, but otherwise 8 player free for all. Anyone?
No. That sounds like I don't even know if the game could handle that.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
I don't think we're going to 1080p 60 FPS anymore after that.
All right.
Is it 1080p 60?
Yeah.
Well, wait, it is with 4 players as well? I think
I
when
don't
it's
know.
4
I
players,
think there
it
might
goes
be
down.
some frame drops at 4 players,
Yeah.
but I
I don't
think
play
3
4.
or less is still 1080p 60 FPS.
Oh, okay. I was under the impression that it went to 720 on 4 players, but still 60 frames per second. Maybe we can have our chat.
Maybe it does. Sure.
Chat, please research for us.
But it has to be all on the same console.
Yeah, no, you're
And-
right.
Yeah.
So this will be the
Oh, yeah,
first.
before we move on, sorry.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Just like,
Go
since
ahead.
you mentioned that ranked thing, one thing that would be really nice is I press continue in ranked because I'm like, oh, if this guy wants to rematch me, I'll play him. And then it's like, oh, he doesn't want to rematch me. And it just immediately puts me into another match, and I'm trying to cancel. I'm like, spam the button, cancel. I don't want to play anybody else. I'm done.
Yeah.
No, what? Come on.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's really annoying to me.
I think there's a lot of things that could be improved as well. Just even the kind of, I don't know, I'd like even adding people that you face, or like if you have a match with someone that's like goes on for an hour, because I had this one Kid Cobra match for like, I think we rematched each other for like 1 hour and just like went 50%, so we won and lost like all of the times. But then after when we were done, we were like, bye, and never say hello again, because I don't remember their nicknames basically. Okay, portable is 720p, says JayNite. Hey,
It
wait,
is.
you're here.
It is. Yeah.
No, well, it
I'm
can't be
talking
more
about
than
dog.
that.
I'm talking about dog.
Oh, okay. Okay, so let's move on to the next topic. Woo! It was the glove tier list. So yeah, it's my Swedish kicking in there. So this kind of ties into what we've been talking about before, basically. But like in the last episode, there was a lot kind of, well, yeah, Hydra is the best arm basically, or like Hydra is kind of unstoppable. But like when I've been watching, like between these episodes, I've been trying to see or watch streams, and I was watching actually Tentamen playing there for some week ago, and you were kind of in on the same thing there, RobotoBoy, with the Blorb kind of being very strong. And when I was seeing Tentamen actually playing with it, I thought, man, I have no idea how to use that arm, but holy shit,
It's
it
weird.
seems really
It is
good.
weird.
Yeah.
You have to put in time. You have to put in the time.
Yeah, and other than that, for me, like I think it's more my kind of play style. But the one thing that I've been having a lot of trouble with is the Ram, because like when Min has a Ram, and it's like charged, I don't understand how it hits. So I like, if anyone plays me and has that arm, I kind of basically just lose because I have no idea how to work around it, basically. But
Dragon Arm Ram.
yeah, exactly. It's basically like, because
It's tougher because it's so much
Yeah.
bigger, but
Yeah.
it I mean you can get around it if you constantly knock her down. She has to try and find ways to get it, which leaves her really vulnerable. I was playing probably the best Min here in the city yesterday with Springman with defaults only, and he was having a hard time. He had to like, he didn't know how to. He couldn't poke me out with her because that's usually how you use the Ram. But
I think for me right now, I've been getting into this comfort zone of because I main Springman, right? So the arms that I'm using right now is the Toaster, Tribolt, and Hydra. And the thing I'm kind of thinking is that I always have a Toaster because it's bad. It's a bad idea to have 2 light weapons basically. And then I switch between the Hydra and Tribolt depending on the playstyle of the other player. So for example, if I'm facing a Twintel who is always on the ground, I use Tribolt because
It is.
I can cover her kind of dashing opportunities. But if I face a twin tail that always jumps, it's easier to have a Hydra to like hit her in the air, basically. And when I've been playing with this, I kind of feel like I don't really need anything else. And then there are times when I'm just like facing the whammer, and then I just get wrecked, basically. But are you guys still under the impression that Hydra is the kind of top tier arm, or has it changed for you guys?
No, I don't think it is.
What is is there a top tier arm even? Like
Bub and Buff are really, really strong. They're really strong.
I would say they're not like so top tier that you can't play around them. It's just that they have such good like curving and tracking in particular that because the game's camera and aiming system kind of favors arms that are like that. That's why they're good. They could make some
like you.
So it's like the camera doesn't really, the game doesn't really let you preemptively curve arms in a certain direction because your center of aim is like right where they are.
Yeah.
So you have to react to their dash rather than preemptively doing something against their dash. So because the fact that Bub you can shoot preemptively and because it curves so much is and Buff also, you know, like it homes. Both of them are able to do things like that. And also Hydra it curves a lot as well.
And on bigger armed characters like Min Min's Dragon Arm, or on I forget his name, Kid Cobra. I don't know why I forget his name sometimes. But
Young Snake.
I keep thinking Snake. Yeah, that's all I ever think of.
Snake.
But his arms are already really big. And the Buff and Bub, since they get so big when they charge, it's like you're almost going to trade 100% most of the time if they're close. So they're just really strong for what they are. I do think they're a little too strong right now. Personally, I just think that's why you see them on most of the higher, like pretty much all of the Japanese is filled with Bub and Buff.
I see.
It's nuts.
The most reliable.
Sorry, what was that, Eizak?
I mean, you were talking about how they're basing the what they're going to change off the Japanese tournament. So it sounds like they're probably going to get nerfed.
They announced that they're not trying not to nerf things. They're trying to buff things to get around it. That's what they said. No, yeah.
Yeah, no, but that's kind of interesting. I'm wondering, like, if they'll only kind of use the Japanese community as a data, like, not kind of looking at the other tournaments as well. But I mean, there's not.
They did do that with Splatoon. They did do that with Splatoon.
Okay.
They looked at the Japanese community mostly.
Well, I guess since it's much more intense of a player base there, it could make sense, but at the same time, it's like kind of when they balance things around the Koreans in StarCraft, it's just like, it's kind of their like national sport. Just like give them that, I guess. Give them the pride. So actually, I've been wanting to talk about the meta for the kind of classes or as well, but at the same time it's so difficult because I keep forgetting what we said at the last episode. Like I remember in the first episode, everyone was just saying like, yeah, Ninjara is definitely gonna be the S tier. Like before the game was released, everyone was like, yeah, he's so fast, dude.
I didn't even think that at the test con.
No, but like in the forums, like when you were seeing the tier list, that people like, oh, this is my tier list. Yeah, obviously Ninjara is like
anything that the forum says, you just think the opposite of it, and you're completely right.
Usually.
No, but then after that, it was kind of like I felt like a lot of people were saying, well, yeah, Ribbon Girl has a lot of mobility, but then it became, no, there's only Kid Cobras on ranked, and now we're in this kind of like gray zone where it's just like, is it just because it's getting a bit more mature, or is it just because people are confused? I don't know.
Well, I don't think people expected Kid Cobra to be able to abuse the tracking and the camera so well. Due to his long hops that are so fast, he can really abuse the tracking and the camera. But
as soon as I saw Kid Cobra gameplay, I said he was going to be the top tier.
Yeah.
That was my immediate reaction.
I see.
It's like giant arms, excellent movement, top tier.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like when I was seeing that, I was like, I don't know, I think I've already decided that I was going to be a Springman, and then they were like, yeah, Springman is not that good. I was like, yes.
Oh, he's really good.
Yeah, but I don't know, like I feel a lot of the times when I'm playing him, I feel
like invincibility frame like 50% of the time.
What?
if you time it right.
Yeah,
Wait,
like
what?
that's the thing, if you time it right. But I feel like a lot of the times I feel like an underdog when I'm playing him. I don't know if it's like I'm living the character or some shit, but like
Yeah.
when I'm playing versus Min Min, I feel like when she is jumping around and dashing around and doing all of her movement, and I'm just like I'm basically like standing around this, like looking at her and being like, okay, soon I'll throw one of my.
That's how I feel when I play Springman. I'm a double toaster, just dot, bob and weave, and get
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Like.
Oh my god. Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like the Springman is just kind of the default boring character right now, and that's why he's kind of the underdog. But I guess
But he's so not. He's like a boncho with a pompadour and stuff. I mean, he's so badass. Like JoJo character. He's all like, you know.
Man. That makes me like I really have to see JoJo. Maybe that's what's missing. Maybe I need to see that and kind of
Yada yada daze.
yeah. I know that reference, but I don't understand it. But so
Just good group.
basically, yeah. Let's hop on to the lore hype train.
Oh boy.
Oh, okay.
No
Before we
way.
go off of the balance really quick.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, last thing about
I
balance.
did want to make one comment about Hydra and why like it's so like prevalent.
Yeah.
The thing about Hydra that I think that would be a good change if we were talking about nerfs rather than like buffing things around it, which I think is not best design philosophy. Anyways, whatever. When you look at like Tribal and one part of it gets hit, the whole thing falls down.
Yeah.
You look at Hydra, it can like sneak
do that.
underneath heavies, sneak like over things. It can like hit people that are low profiling.
Yeah.
It's just like it's like the most reliable thing, and it's just like, oh, your opponent's like, I'm gonna counter it. Oh, never mind, I can't counter Hydra with a punch. I can't jump because it's Hydra.
That's one thing I've actually been abusing a lot, if I'm gonna be honest. Like, because I noticed that on especially on the what is it, the ramen bowl, I guess, the Min Min's map. Like basically, if you dash diagonally on the edge of the bowl, basically, then you can go. Basically, so the bottom Hydra always goes under, even if it's like a heavy, it will always go under and then hit someone most of the times. So there you have it, my secret of moving through loser brackets.
I think a big thing that they could do that would really fix like a lot of maps is let you do more upwards and downwards aiming, like possibly after the fact. Just like the fact that I did a little testing. When you hold back to aim up, it bases it off their current trajectory. So it tries to hit at the place they will be when you fire.
Okay.
But then if like a ribbon girl jumps or any air dash happens, it will not hit them.
Yeah.
You have to do it in response to their aerial movement. But if you look at someone who has like 5 options of aerial movement, Ribbon Girl literally breaks the aiming system and you can't hit her.
It's actually why in my tournaments I make Spring Stadium a counter pick stage. I don't actually make it a main stage because if you pick Ribbon Girl, it's too strong.
Yeah.
For Ribbon
So
Girl.
I feel like the main thing they could do is make a little bit of leniency so that it isn't decided on the first frame of punching at what height it is. And let you do more upwards and downwards aiming, like actual aiming, curving.
Yeah.
No, I definitely agree.
It would also make Ramen Bowl better because it's downwards aiming.
Yeah.
I agree.
So it's messed up the camera a lot of the time.
Yeah. I think.
And I wouldn't blame the camera. I'm gonna blame the aiming system.
The aiming system is really bad. It's not the best.
Yeah.
And which is like a huge part of the game, though. So it's. Like,
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
It's really obvious as a Springman, to be honest, because you're always like grounded. So when those things happen to you, I feel the same with both Ribbon Girl and Twintel on the Spring Stadium. When they bounce off the spring, I basically just wait for them to like cut it out. I'm just like looking at them bouncing up, and then they're like flying around, and I'm just standing there like, okay, here I go. And then when they kind of land, I'm like, oh yeah. But then I don't know. I can't do it if they like if you face a Ribbon Girl that's just like top tier. I hate facing Ribbon Girl on her own
it's so
stage.
annoying. They get in your face and you're like, you literally can't hit me.
Oh my god.
Literally.
Yeah, literally. Oh man. Oh well, I guess we'll just have to
Mhm.
Wait and see. Wasn't that the slogan of like episode 2? Wait and see or something? Or
Yeah.
was it-
Yeah, it's still young though. It's only
Yeah.
week
Yeah.
3 now.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely say that's the really funny part about Mechanica. She's an aerial character, but because she hovers and stays in midair, it makes her aerial ability actually hittable
Yeah.
compared to the
Mm.
other aerial characters because
It
of the way
does.
the aiming works.
which
Yeah.
sucks for her because
It's just like you can actually hit her when she's in the air.
Like
What a
it's
useful
supposed to be.
ability.
yeah.
Oh man. But yeah, I'm super excited to see what will happen, and excited to see all of the tournaments that's going on as well. I hope we get a place where we can actually see all of the tournaments and kind of get a list of it, because right now they're all over the place. And one thing that I like, the main resource for me to actually like comment on meta and like balance is to actually see gameplay. But it's so hard because the only way I can see gameplay is when it's live streamed. But I want to see a tournament. Like, the only thing I see in tournaments right now is just like, hey, this guy won. It's like, okay, cool. Like, the guy who won the New York tournament, he was a Twin-Tail player.
Catfight?
Yeah, he was
Catfight.
Twin-Tail,
Yeah.
and he used Joy-Cons. It's like, cool. So where's the VOD? And then, like,
I don't think Catfight does use Joy-Cons. I thought Catfight
I
uses
think
pad.
I thought he used pad. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought he used pad. Yeah.
okay.
No, well, you can use pad Joy-Cons.
He uses Pro.
Yeah, but I thought Catfight explicitly used pad. I thought that's what his thing was.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty
I-
sure,
maybe I read
I'm pretty
wrong.
sure almost every like top player in the Discord uses.
I'll just
pad.
blame that on it being
Pad.
my second language. But I think what I'm just saying is that like now when that tournament was over, it was like cool, but we can't gain anything from it as a community, because now like there was one video that was uploaded on Reddit I think earlier today, which was like the
It's like a
NYC
phone.
NYC tournament, and I was like cool, and then it's like a two minute montage of a guy using like low focal length stuff with like music in the background, and just like just profile shots of the players. Yeah, it needs
Brought to you by Nintendo.
yeah, it needs the blue, the blue screen with the white text that comes in.
Yeah.
It's like made by me. It's like, oh, okay. Bringing
Yeah, wow, I
back the
never would've guessed.
2005 YouTube era.
We're going back.
Oh God, no.
This is my last resort.
Jesus.
Sorry, I can't stop doing like early 2000s YouTube reference.
No, I know what you mean. I think.
I was there.
Okay, so any last comments about the balance, or should we like leave it and let it simmer a bit so we can?
Everything's
Figure stuff out.
perfect,
One-
nothing's broken.
Yeah,
one more thing.
Yeah, Eizak, go ahead.
Oh, do we know anything specific about the latency differences between the different control types?
From
Well,
what
now
I've tested, motion control has 2 more frames of latency.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, didn't they add the connected now? You have like the cable.
Yeah.
connection.
Yeah, you can-
Yeah,
can
it doesn't
connect
act.
the
It doesn't act. I tested it. It doesn't actually decrease latency.
Damn. Okay.
What's
I
the
thought it
point?
might. I was like, they're
I
adding-
guess that's a testament to like how good the wireless technology is.
Or
That's
is
gonna-
it just like
It probably does it like by like less than a frame. It might
Okay.
it might do it, but it's not noticeable from what I can
Not
tell.
enough. Yeah.
It's gonna get interesting when you're talking about those bigger tournaments on single switches with frame rate differences, because then latency is actually gonna probably be more important.
Yeah.
You're gonna be seeing
Yeah.
people.
Well, if there's a lot of people using wireless controllers, yeah, that'll happen.
Well, actually, I was kind of wondering about that. Since I didn't see the top 8 of the SGGC ARMS Saga, like, was there anyone at all using the motion controllers, or was it just because a lot of the
Not that I
people
could
that,
see.
the Soul, the Springman who won, he used the grip controller, if I remember correctly. But when I was watching the stream, almost all players were using a pro controller. It's like, do you know if anyone was using a motion controller? I didn't.
I don't think I saw anyone in the top 8 using motion.
Okay. Well,
I didn't watch the whole top 8, so I mean, Roboto probably has a better answer.
Top 8 was kind of back and forth a little bit. The bite, so like the bite was utilizing Soul's inexperience with how the explosion goes off on the Seiki to catch him with meaties.
We were talking about the
sorry,
controllers.
sorry.
Talking about
Controllers.
controller
Yeah.
they're using.
Sorry,
yeah.
my brain. What?
Yeah.
what-
That's
okay.
cool. I
Yeah.
mean, I did.
Run
like
it by
that
me
too.
one more time. Sorry,
Yeah.
I was checking Discord. What was going on? Sorry.
no.
We were just talking about like control schemes that people were using in the top 8.
They were using the pad. It's like almost exclusively pad. So I think it was. I don't think I saw a single motion controller in there. So they showed it, and I'm pretty sure it was like all pad.
This actually makes me, because I was want to use, like, when I was talking to a friend the other day. Now I was saying like, I can't wait until one guy just shows up with one Joy-Con, and he's just like, hey guys.
Yes.
What's up? And then he's just
single
like,
Joy-Con, the ultimate.
He's like, this is the control scheme.
Yeah.
Of pros.
Yeah.
It's like, I think
My hands are dying.
Yeah. No, but because my friend who actually, like, he doesn't own the game, but we played together on the stream because we were trying out the multiplayer, and so I only had the 2 Joy-Cons, so we had to play with that thing, and he was like, wow, this is actually the best setup for me, and I was kind of like, yeah. No, but then one day, I think 1 week ago, I was streaming, and one of my Joy-Cons ran out of battery, and I didn't want to stop streaming, so I actually played with one Joy-Con, and
It's not bad.
it's not bad. So,
it's not terrible. No.
so I'm, so if,
Yeah, I would just miss the shoulder buttons.
yeah,
I like the ergonomics of the
yeah.
Pro controller. Too.
But, you know, if there's any single Joy-Con hero out there who's watching this or watching the VOD, please go to a tournament and then, like, go there and show them. I really want to see that.
Let's just find out. Catfight mentioned that he doesn't mind single Joy-Con. Maybe he went to the tournament. Maybe that's what he played. Maybe
Yeah,
he played
single
single.
Joy-Con.
That
That might have been what they said, yeah.
Yeah, that would be sick, actually.
It's like, I'm gonna own all of you.
That's like super customized with stickers and shit. That would be.
Yeah,
You know what? He just walks in with one of these.
Oh, I have one too.
Yeah.
Or actually, like, I saw that you could buy where you can put a Joy-Con, like a single Joy-Con in like a grip, like a third-party thing. That would be cool.
Oh, I got one of those actually. It's pretty nice.
Ooh, can you show
I
this?
don't
I
have it.
consider
I don't
it.
have it with me.
Oh,
Maybe
okay.
it's. Oh, I have one over there. Oh, 1 second.
All right.
You guys keep talking. I'll be back.
Yeah. No, but
Something I just
yeah, go ahead.
just super quick. Something I want to mention is you guys talked about the being able to use different controllers last time. You got to keep in mind some of those they don't actually, the left stick registers as buttons,
Okay.
and that could actually be pretty interesting for ARMS because only not being able to register like an analog joystick, the turning is much quicker. It's something that comes up in a lot of games for keyboard versus controller.
I see. So
You could see players rapidly switching the directions, which is something you can move the joystick pretty quickly, but it's much
the dead
faster.
zone on the dead zone on the Joy-Cons is pretty non-existent. So
Yeah.
I couldn't find it.
Okay.
Whatever.
Dang it. Well, people
They're
have to
just
Google
little
it.
things that add like small little nubs on the bottom, makes it a little more comfortable.
Yeah.
But it makes the side buttons really hard to press, and you need the side buttons, like the shoulder buttons, the
Not
L
single
and the ZL. So it's not actually probably good for ARMS because it's basically
All right. Okay. Let's.
At least the one I got. There's probably a lot of different versions.
Let's move on to the lore, the hype, and the lore. Actually, so
here we go.
yeah, here we go. So one of the things, it's been the similar thing as with the meta for me. It's really hard to keep up. Like, I've been following the lore updates on the Japanese Twitter, but it's actually, like, for me, that I'm not following it, like, I guess religiously. I'm just like looking at it sometimes, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I don't know anything of what you're talking about, and I'm just kind of using my limited Japanese and then the translated tweet, and it's I don't know how it is for English, but it auto translates it to Swedish, and I'm like, yeah, man, whatever you're saying, and it's just like random gibberish.
It's like you can get kind of an idea with the auto translate, but it's not great.
Well, you know how Japanese is, Defur. It's like some of the words are not, some phrases aren't actually directly translatable. It's kind of difficult on some things.
Especially like if you like some weird specifics, like there isn't like a precise.
Onegaishimasu. Onegaishimasu.
Yeah.
Otsukare deshita. Otsukare-sama deshita is also one of those weird words.
Yeah, and
that you can't really translate. So
I think it's also like another. I don't know why it's doing that for me on Twitter. Like, it's auto translating to Swedish, which is like. In English, it's like, oh, okay, you can kind of, but in Swedish, it's just like, what the hell is going on
really
in the
abstract.
sentence? Yeah, like, I'm just like,
weird.
all right.
Because it must just butcher like the grammar like so much.
They have weird grammar. So yeah.
Yeah. But, so, have we gotten any new updates in the lore, actually? Like the last week or so?
There's been a lot.
Yeah.
There's been a lot.
So
I really
what
think
is
we
the
should
big
let
spooky.
meanings?
Eizak. I
What?
think we should let Eizak like kind of
Mhm.
run us through.
Okay.
I've done a lot of the translations, so I can correct any of it if we need to.
Yeah.
But Eizak has done a lot of compiling, so
Yeah.
I kind of want to let him take the floor on that one.
Okay.
Well, I mean, yeah, thanks. First of all, just to preface, basically everything is coming from Roboto. He's the only person who's like reliably translated it, like publicly-ish so far. And regarding compiling, we are actually making a document that I plan to share publicly that's going to kind of list everything in a format that's pretty easy to learn from, like an archive kind of thing. It's going to be a Google document. We are expecting to get a lot of stuff in the Max Brass update because we're going to get a profile and everything, and that's going to tell us. But oh yeah, you go.
No. I was just making a small comment. Keep going.
There's two big things in the lore that we really, I think you guys might have interesting opinions on. The first thing is that we know is regarding there being a secret agent in one of the Grand Prix members is actually a secret undercover staff member for ARMS Labs,
Oh, I
like
remember that now.
confirmed,
Ooh.
and we don't know who it is.
Is it like a current fighter that we have at the moment?
We
Yeah.
don't know exactly, but that's pretty much the only way we could assume it. Yeah.
It's
Future deals.
pretty. It's based on, like, if you just quickly glanced at it, it would look like it's Min Min, because she's the only. They show.
I mean,
pictures
they show a picture of her, but the context of the tweet doesn't actually mention that. The
Yeah.
context of the tweet just says they're sending in a special fighter to investigate further of the entire.
I thought it implied that they were investigating Min Min.
Yeah,
No.
no, that's what it kind of looks like. But Min Min's actually the only person who they don't talk about anywhere else, like the ARMS Lab reports. She's the one, and Max Brass, but she's completely absent from everything else. Like, they don't seem to be really inquiring.
The tweet mentions that they're looking into why the arms express themselves as something they have an affinity for. That's
So-
why they're sending in somebody undercover to,
So like
to
a dragon,
investigate.
or
Yeah.
No, well, the implication would be like Min Min, her arms are like noodles because
Noodles.
Ramen.
Loves ramen. Works
I
at a
see.
ramen shop.
oh, okay. The only thing I could think of, like, just with the
Like
no,
spring?
Yeah,
but,
like, Springman's the one I'm weirded out.
Oh, no, like
by.
exercise equipment has springs in it.
Oh, that's true.
I
yeah.
saw a reply. Someone who was sitting on a couch, so the springs in the couch.
He was like a couch potato. He's like, oh shit, I got arms.
Oh,
Now I'm gonna be a fighter.
Oh, that's another interesting thing. The age, it's supposed to be around like the teen years when they get their arms. So we actually know. It seems that most of our current fighters, have been around for a while, and they've been fighting for around like 10 years. I think Twintel specifically is at least 10 years has had arms, most likely. And so it's kind of giving us an idea of these people have kind of been like around for a while. And I don't know if you guys know about this, but there's the number that 20% of the population has arms. And that's
was
like
it potential for arms or actually have arms?
No,
like they have it.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
It's gone
like
up.
Mark
It was
units got to work
lower.
overtime, I guess.
But
And
like, just a question there. Like, so when they say that they have a 20% chance of having the arms, it's
No, not
like
20% chance. 20% of the population has it.
oh, okay. But like, yeah, okay. But do they have like suddenly their arms just like become noodly, or is it just like
Yeah.
like because I read somewhere that they have to like put on the masks to like control them, or is that just because like when they put on the masks they can actually like eject their arms? Is
Yeah.
it just like normally otherwise, or
so
No, their arms are. Yeah, go ahead, Eizak.
yeah, I think I can explain it pretty well. Some of the this was actually explained in one of the more recent ones that they released. It's we know that every ARMS fighter has their eyes are swirly, and that's like an indicator of the ARMS gene or whatever, and that's how you know they have it. And so it shows that a researcher based on the fact they figured out that based on the eyes they can like reverse engineer and then use the eyes to control the arms. And so the way it used to be is you wouldn't actually be able to control your arms well, but we do know that they did. It seems that they did actually have competitions of arms before they could control them well, and it was like kind of implied that it was relatively debilitating. A lot of the time there's a picture of one guy with a mask showing that he's like big and strong, and there's another one whose just arm is like floppy. It's just like everywhere,
he doesn't have
across the floor. Yeah. And
which makes me laugh because you wake up with arms and you're like, no. You're like moving your hand like, come on.
That must have sucked for the longest time.
Oh my god. It's like, how could you even...
Glad I was born in this century.
It's very... I feel like it's very much like, this is my life now. If you wake up, it's just like, oh well, shit. Like, now I can't do anything.
Yeah, that's how it works. They say it happens like they wake up and then they realize...
That's pretty rad.
It's...
most of the time. It says most of the time. So there's some people who wake up in the middle of the night just strewn across the floor.
I feel like a lot of the lore. I know I'm always going back with it with All Might and everything, but I feel like they're like even this kind of part of the lore is so reminiscent of like My Hero Academia, where it's just like, well, now it's like 50% of the population now has powers suddenly, and it's like, whoa, no explanation. And then they're trying. I guess I don't know if they're trying to like engineer stuff in that series, but it's like, I don't know. It's not that I don't like it, but I've just seen that series, and now I play this game, and I'm like, yeah, I also saw that anime, and then if I were to make a game right now, it would probably be this. But then again, this game has probably been in development for like, I don't know how long, like, I actually don't know how long it has been in development. But
probably at least a year and a half. That's usually like smaller end of like development cycles.
Okay,
but the big thing that came out recently is that we now have 3 names of different scientists. Well, we have 2 names of scientists and 1 unnamed scientist who is writing the lab reports.
Okay.
And we don't know much about who they are or what their future ended up becoming, but we do know they were involved with Headlock and Bodylock. Bodylock. Right. So let me let Eizak explain all that. He's the one who compiled it all.
All right.
Well, so a long time ago they were talking about there was a character introduced, just Kim. That was the only name we were given. And there was also, regarding the first mentions of Headlock, and I call it Chesslock. Originally they decided they wanted to make like wearable weaponry. That's what it was. That's what it was called. And the leader of the project is Dr. C. And so recently they've been giving us more info on Dr. C. Dr. C he knows the secrets of the mask, and he's like the only one who knows, and you have to go through him if you want to know it. They haven't actually seen him, the rest of the researchers. They mentioned that it's kind of scary, like he's in close contact with them, but he's never shown himself. And Roboto can explain in a bit some of the people that we have in mind who might be Dr. C. And so then there's
go ahead.
So Dr. C just Kim, and then we're later given a name. His name's Koichi Koibuchi. That's the full name, which is shockingly similar to Kobushi.
Yeah, exactly. Kobushi? That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
And so we're told that he wants to turn Chesslock, or the body armor, into a helmet. And Dr. C said no. And he decided that that's not what they were going to do. And
it's too dangerous.
More specifically, Kim wants to make a piece of wearable weaponry that forcibly adds to like the user, like forcibly takes control of their mind and gives them the extra arms. And even possibly, it seems that it's like the original intent was to give arms to people who didn't have it. And at the end of the bit of a spoiler, at the end of the Grand Prix, Biff weirdly mentions that he wonders how he would look in a mask. Then he already is wearing a mask, so it seems like he wants to try out Headlock, potentially. And so we don't really know who Dr. C is, and Roboto, you can take it from here. Who our candidates are.
So who do we know whose name starts with a C? Cobra.
Oh,
We also know that he doesn't have a mask because of ARMS Lab. They don't know where he got the mask. He was apparently born with his ability, and who knows the only secret to the mask?
Father
Dr.
Cobra.
Like
Father Cobra. Eizak actually came up with that one, where he's like, Kid Cobra's probably Dr. C's son, and he's got the mask that his dad helped him out. Which I was like, that's actually legit. I actually think that theory is pretty.
That can make
some
sense. Yeah.
I'm so bad with these things. I'm the guy when I see like a detective story, I'm like, it's the girl, and then it's like, oh no, it was totally not the girl, and I'm like, fuck.
I used to do
never the girl.
I used to do private detective work, so I actually kind of know a little bit how to investigate things.
Like
I have a pretty extensive employment history of things I used to do.
Oh,
so.
That's
Yeah.
actually
Interesting.
That's like super interesting, actually, to be honest. But, like,
Let's have a whole podcast about that.
yeah.
You tell your story.
Oh my god! But so, because
Fortunate.
for me, like, as someone that's like, I'm like, my focus of the game has been mostly about like learning the mechanics and like trying to understand like the smaller parts of like, when should I punch versus twin tail, like those kind of things. But now, like looking at these tweets, I'm like it's too much. I can't take it in. I'm like seeing this, and I'm like, because I was scrolling through the Twitter the other day, and I'm like, yeah, this like a lot of pictures, but I like, there's no kind of, it doesn't feel like. Is there like a thread going through all of this, or is it just kind of like, here's some info of this, or here's some info of that, and it's just like, it doesn't, because when I'm listening to this right now, it just feels like, now here's another character, there's another character, someone is a secret agent, but is there like, is it going towards something, or is it just like kind of, you know?
It seems to be trying to reveal what Headlock is, what its nature is. It seems to be trying to reveal like the actual like intent behind ARMS Laboratory and why Helix is a thing. Basically, we're just trying to learn the motivations of each of the characters that are kind of a mystery right now. For instance, we don't really know anything about Kid Cobra. He's weird. We don't really know anything about ARMS Lab. We don't really know anything about Helix. We don't really know anything about Biff. Those characters. So that seems to be kind of what it's gearing toward. And Mechanica. There's mysteries about Mechanica.
But in that case, it sounds like, okay, the common thread is like, we don't know anything about anybody
we know about the...
Yeah. No, and neither does the ARMS Labs. That's actually a big part of it. They don't know anything, and they're trying to...
Yeah.
It kind of plays into that it's a... Oh, who knows? It's a big mystery.
That was like the big thing. The big thing when they first did the direct was that science is like held back by an invisible hand, and it's like the Illuminati is keeping them because they use like the arm agency symbol, which is like a fist with an eye in it. It's like it's weird. It's so weird. I don't know.
So like actually, I kind of want to bring in some like comments on this actually now when I think about it, because so when I used to live in Japan, like earlier, I was working at a game company, and we were doing this role-playing game, which had like weekly updates with like random shit, and we were adding new characters. And from the outside, it looked like we had this like big scheme of plans of like how the story would be developed, and then and it was like a lot of Illuminati shit, and it was just like conspiracies deluxe, like a lot of stuff like that. And
they like that stuff.
Yeah, and so the one that decided the kind of story from the beginning was the game director that was like my boss, basically. And he is an American guy that has been working in Japan for like 15 years with games. I think he worked for like Square Enix and Sega and stuff like that. And so he was basically telling me in meetings, like, because I was asking him like a lot, because I was writing the dialogue and stuff, and I was asking him like, so like, why is it like this? And he's like, I have no idea. I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, no, that's the thing. Like here we don't do like the entire story. We just give them a premise, and then we just like kind of let people work with it, because then they build up their own hype, and then so like a lot of the times
they might take those ideas.
We actually talked about.
Because like a lot of the things, like the things that would happen, because I was the one writing the story, was that I would just like open up possibilities. Like, we introduced a new character and we don't know who did this, and then it's like we never really close the door on that thread. It's just like, okay, what happened to that other, like, her entire family got killed and she's looking for the murderer. I'm like, I don't know. And then like, it's sort of like a common thing that I'm seeing in a lot of Japanese games, and especially the mobile games, where they're just like, here, have a premise. It's a guy and he gets powers or some shit, and then, you know, I don't know what happens. And then I'm kind of like, I'm starting to get a bit, not worried, but like, I don't know if Nintendo is like going for that kind of thing as well, or is there like a risk of that, or am I just like talking weird now, or
I definitely understand. Like, I have done like things where I would like imply things. It's very easy to imply a very deep thing, but it's not actually there.
Like in Japan, the marketing style is so much different from ours It's so different. So like the whole character driven like conspiracy thing kind of works at generating hype over things. Now, they admitted that ARMS doesn't have a story. They said that it came last and they're working on it now. So I think that it is honestly being worked on, you know, as we go. I do think that they have a plan, but I don't think that it was an initial like I think it's an afterthought. So that's why we're getting most of it in tweets. We're not getting it through the game.
Yeah.
But
I'm
as far go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm the thing is that I'm kind of wondering if they're ever gonna close some of these things, and then like
oh yeah, they will.
But because if they won't close those things or like give them how do you say it, like complete them or like give a reply
Closure.
Closure. Thank you. So if they don't give closure on some things, then it's like for me it starts to lose its meaning a bit because like. If you compare it to, let's say, Overwatch.
That's Overwatch.
Yeah, but
which
like
doesn't have closure.
Yeah, no, but like so in Overwatch, when they start a thread, they eventually come to an end with it. So like, except for like the what is it, the Sombra upload download thing.
Well, I would
like,
even look at like I saw the first McCree comic, the first comic they did, and they're like, oh, there's a package with like a blue light that comes out, and they throw it outside, and we don't know what it is. Like a year and a half later, they never mentioned it again.
Yeah,
maybe.
Or like Hanzo and Genji, we still don't know basically anything about them hardly. So
maybe that's just like a general thing that's going in games right now. Just like it's just like. Yeah. But
people like to speculate.
Yeah,
great type.
But for me, that makes me feel kind of stupid in a certain sense because it's like they have all the answers, but they don't want to give them. And it was also one of the things that like made me kind of frustrated with my game director because I'm like, okay, we don't have to tell the fans what's happening, but could you give me an answer of what the hell is going on with this character? He's like, no, I don't know. I'm like, okay, but like is someone gonna die? He's like, maybe. I'm like, oh, okay.
It sounds like the game director you were working with wasn't very good at writing a story.
No, like he was actually a programmer, and then he was like, he was kind of the founder of the company. So they're like, hey, you know English, right on. And then and then I came in and had to like try to clean it up, and it was messy basically. But
I created like a few like initial stories for games, and I don't fucking know.
I do think they are going somewhere with this. We wouldn't be learning about Dr. C and Headlock and what it is in the first place, and they hint at it being mysterious in the game. So I honestly think they're trying to answer the question. Splatoon had similar things where it was kind of vague, but then they kind of answered everything after a while. So I mean. The bad problem with Japanese storytelling is they're very big about interpretation. They love for you to try and interpret it for yourself all the time. And I mean like really interpret it. So in most Japanese stories I've read or watched anime, games, books, there's always like plot holes, lots of them. And it's just like you kind of have to take them with
Tekken.
the rest of
Tekken.
it. Tekken is horrible about it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
From an American perspective, it's really frustrating. Or I guess just from like someone who's more used to like Western writing styles.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, oh well, I'm not really happy because this conclusion wasn't really a conclusion, and now you just have all these characters that probably won't appear in anything ever again, and we don't know what happens.
But okay, so with the new update that's coming out next week, like Eizak, what do you think? Like, are people just like supposed to keep following the Twitter, or do you think that something will actually be put into the game, like that we can actually speculate about, or like how's things looking right now? Like, cause I sure as shit don't know anything.
Well, one of the big things we're hoping for is, well, besides hopefully we'll get the doc up and being able to be able to get more people involved in giving their opinions.
Yeah.
One of the things we're hopefully going to get is an age of Max Brass, because that could tell us a lot. But just to take like a small step back to alleviate what some of you guys are saying, we did discuss it being a very open-ended thing. But we recently did actually get some pretty like prevalent consistency they mentioned Kim like a while ago. Like that was like towards the very, very beginning. And then it just seemed like one of those characters just threw out. But now they're starting to tell us more about characters that they did introduce in the very, very early stages. And they did, like, it seems like one of those, like, they didn't just leave it open-ended. There is seemingly some consistency. So hopefully they do kind of get more into it. And based on the quality of like the art that they're releasing with each tweet, I don't know if you've seen, but it's like very, very good art.
Yeah.
And it's like very in depth, something that in Afterthought usually like they maybe it's definitely somewhat of an afterthought on like a higher level, but for the people working on the story, they are putting a lot of effort into it, into making these designs that a lot of times they even just cover up in the pictures that they release. Like they're mostly covered, can't see half of it, but it's like a beautiful picture that would like some kind of thing that you could make a poster of it. People would buy it. Like it looks great. And then they put Biff everywhere. They just threw Biff on everything. Every single character ending has Biff in it somewhere. He's in one of them. Yeah. He's actually a drink.
Like the Helix one. The Helix one.
Is that kind of scary in that
like
one?
in a 2S tube, and he's like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, yeah, go on.
Yeah, the Max Brass, hopefully, when we'll get his profile and we'll be able to... He's sort of one of the big things that should connect a lot of the story. But also, the tweets are, by the way, being released with like headers. Like, for example, we now have 4 ARMS Labs reports, and they are kind of grouped. So there's an ARMS History series, there's an ARMS Lab Report series, and then there's a lab notebook series. Yep. Those are the 3 series that were being given, and they are each being like, we're getting progress on each of them individually. Yep. And one of the other sort of plain sight things that it does, that I would be very surprised if it wasn't very, very intentional, is something I posted on Reddit about. At the end of the Grand Prix, there's a spoiler, there's an ARMS Labs blimp circling the Grand Prix.
It's not the same blimp that's in like the beach area. It's not the same blimp at all. It has the lab logo.
I panned up at the ending and I'm like, what is that? That seems like some spooky stuff.
I
looked around the city, I'm like, there's gotta be some stuff.
It's the only time we see that blimp. They didn't put it anywhere else. They worked on it just to put it there. And it doesn't appear in the lower endings because you don't get the credits thing. So it is only there when Headlock appears. It's the only time you see that blimp. So maybe.
I think for me, when it comes to the lore, I'm gonna keep being skeptic, because being like the things that I've seen in Japan is just kind of like they just leave stuff open-ended and then they just close it. So I'm hoping that they will like update and actually put stuff in, or like do like cutscenes or like stuff. But right now
I don't know if we'll get cutscenes.
But I'm just like what my wish list basically would be.
I mean, I would love that.
Yeah, like
we're gonna get something.
But right now I'm kind of feeling, if I'm gonna be honest, it's just like it's just like it's probably not gonna be anything, but it would be really great if it did. It's like kind of I'm setting my expectations like super low right now, so I get positively surprised, I would say. I'm thinking we're gonna head out to like shoutouts and wrap ups soon. So if anyone has like any closing remarks about the lore that you haven't talked about, then you can bring it up.
Does Max Brass have spiral irises?
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Why does he have white eyes, and so do the fans?
And Mechanica's father.
That's spooky.
Yeah.
The white-eyed fans.
Someone was saying that he was an android.
Oh, I saw that post.
There was the Bite Mark Discord went like crazy with the really silly theory. It was like 200 messages long. It was like,
is that the thing where Linkable was writing on Bite and Bark anime? On the
Discord? No, I didn't see that.
That was really funny. That was pretty funny.
Yeah. It was like they looked at like, oh well, let's see, Mechanica and Mechanica's dad. Well, you see, they're friends with Max Brass because of the picture in Scrapyard, and they're like, okay, well, what if Max Brass is like a really scrawny dude? He's like really weak, and Mechanica's dad built him a swole suit because he pops up. So he's like a dude in a swole suit, and like he doesn't actually have actual arms. It's just the suit.
He didn't pay
and then they and they didn't pay.
He
They didn't pay Mechanica's dad back, so Mechanica's in to get the money out of him.
No.
Yeah, I saw that.
What the fuck?
That's weird.
Yeah,
That's weird.
A swole suit conspiracy.
A swole suit conspiracy.
Swolegate.
Definitely be
Swolegate.
Definitely be excited for Max Brass's Grand Prix ending. I think that's going to be something really, because that's something we're going to get in 3 days, and you're going to be able to play as Max Brass, and we're going to get some kind of crazy ending, and that's going to be something's going to be. It's going to be cool.
Well, you can't go against Max Brass, so it has to be different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting.
So we're thinking that might be maybe like a true ending.
And then in my pessimistic mind, it's going to be like, oh, when Max Brass comes out, and then it's like, oh, it's just an alternative Max Brass that you face, and then it's like nothing new.
Max Brass versus Golden Max Brass, because they just released the colors today. Gold, silver, and normal.
Okay.
Yeah, that kind of slightly erotic gif of them like kind of flexing like versus against each other. That was
Instead of Max Brass, you fight Biff.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be so sick.
Also, legs is going to be
Biff's arms just stretch out. He becomes really big.
Actually, that would be really interesting if that's the way that they will like keep updating the game. Like when you play Max Brass, then the next character will be teased, and then that character.
I've seen that theory. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be. I don't know.
I think so. People had the same idea at the same time.
I just want Biff as a playing character. Then that would be my main forever.
He'll be like the odd job of the game where you literally can't hit him.
Oh, Jesus.
No, he could have legs. There's a chance Biff has capital letters LEGS.
Oh, Jesus.
Like really big legs.
They show a picture of a Biff.
They already showed his whole body, didn't they?
Yeah, he's like a tiny dude.
Yeah,
right?
but also if the top arm is an arm, that would be sick.
That would be sick, actually.
He's a grappler character. He just grabs him with the big arm.
Yeah.
He gets up close and he's like, shh.
That would be really cool. But yeah, I think that's gonna be slightly it for today's episode. So we're gonna head on to shout out and some wrap up here. So now it might play the Max Brass thing here, so I'm just gonna cancel it before it's defends you. But yeah, so let's begin with RobotoBoy. I know that you wanted to do some shout-outs, and there's a tournament coming up, or several of them.
Yeah, so we are running a tournament series. At Dragon Slayer Games, except it's going to be online. I've been working to try and find some commentators. Tintan says he's up for it. Let's see. We almost got Soul, but he's busy this week. The one that we're going to start. But the 29th is the first one, Saturday, at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And it's going to be $5 entry, but we're doing it in cooperation with Game Over Entertainment. We're putting a $100 pot bonus in for every Saturday that we do it. It's a weekly. And then it's a $5 pot entry. So every time you enter, the $5 goes in the pot. It gets split among the top 3 entrants, 60, 25, 15. And then we put the 100 in there as well. So that way it all comes out nice and fluffy with that money for everybody. But it's going to be online series. We're streaming it. You can register through our website at Dragon Slayer Games. It's dragonslayer-games.com. You'll get emailed the doc as well as the Discord, and we'll stick you in the bracket as well. So that way you'll be ready when we get ready to go. There's a bunch of rules to go over, but it's a big cool thing that we're trying to do with Game Over Entertainment. We're going to stream it over there. It's going to be good stuff. So, again, we're trying really hard to make this thing popular. It's custom arms, okay?
Oh, okay.
Don't worry. I know that I'm a big default guy, but I am doing custom. So this one's custom arms. Maybe you could be one of the commentators. We might need some backups. So, So Gore is pretty hyped for it. I think he was helping me out quite a bit trying to find commentators for me. I was like, wow, dude, he's pretty great. Gore's pretty great.
He's a cool guy.
He's pretty cool
guy.
Yeah.
Shout out to Gore.
Yeah, shout out.
So Game Over Entertainment HD TV, or Game Over HD TV. Sorry, they named their channel differently recently. They got to do something. But they are the actual channel you could check out the actual Twitch stream on. But we plan to stream pools all the way to 8. Hopefully pools will be more hype for that than they were for 2GGC.
Hype pools is what I want for Christmas.
Right? Please, pools. I want hype
All right.
pools.
Hype pools.
I want to see some crazy stuff in pools.
Can we get like a tournament series that's called Hype Pools?
Hype. So this is an exclusive thing here. I haven't announced this really to anybody except a select few people. So I'll probably put a link in the Discord as well and link everybody there and let everyone know about it. TCM is pretty excited. So I don't know. We'll see the turnout for it. Hopefully it's great. This is our Dragon Slayer's first big online tournament. Game Over has done several. That's why we're working with them on it. So this is our first big online one. We usually only do locals. So I'm hoping this one will be really great.
Yeah, it sounds great. And
I'm rude. Yeah.
thanks a lot for like doing this and doing something like this for the community. It's something that we really need, and so I'm really hyped. Even though I might not join it as a player, I'll definitely tune into Game Over HDTV and take a look.
Check out that stream, yeah.
Yeah, gotta get
and
that.
Check out their Tekken streams. They do Tekken tournaments, which are pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. And and then we could move on to JayNite. What will be what should we be looking out for you? Like, you have a YouTube channel, I know. Like, what's going to happen?
Well, let's see. I mean, like, I would definitely shout out real quick to the ARMS Discord, in particular the Bite and Bark Discord. Since I'm the owner of it, and they've been real cool. I've been collaborating with them, trying to develop the character. I'm a big Bite and Bark main. It's like the only character I play, and kind of the underdog, kind of the people everyone say is low tier. So we try hard to just prove them wrong.
Hey, he got far in 2GGC.
Yeah, he did. Defaults. Anyways, people are just like, you only want defaults because you're Bite and Bark. And I'm like, you have a decent point. Anyways, but my main thing, is my YouTube channel. And I am planning on posting some more videos. Haven't posted any videos in the past week, but I'm trying to kind of get a backlog of content to start posting. And I am planning on...
Your B&B guide was pretty in-depth. I like that a lot, yeah.
Thank you, man. Thank you. And so you can go there for any in-depth guide or tech. It's less general stuff, more specific things. But I'm also planning on doing some streaming on Twitch. So that's just going to be twitch.tv/J_NIT. And I'll try to get my setup so I can start doing that too. Just check out my content, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it. Take a bit more analytical approach if that's the kind of content you guys want to watch.
All right, thank you. And moving on to our last guest here, Eizak. Like, where should we be looking for the, I guess, compendium of the lore updates? And will you be doing anything else, like streaming or anything like that?
Well, I mean, there's not too much of that. I mean, right below the picture part shows my Twitch and Twitter. I'm not too active on Twitch. Definitely, I Twitter sometimes. But one thing is, there is no real good place to discuss ARMS lore, and so I am hoping to start an ARMS lore Discord.
Cool.
I have it made. I could link it. I don't know.
Yeah, go for it.
But definitely check that out, and just being able to have more eyes would be really cool. I think that there are some really cool story things that we just haven't figured out yet, and bringing in fresh eyes would definitely help. And thank you so much for having me also.
Yeah, thank you for being here, and thank you for your lore inputs as well. Maybe the lore channel could be something that's posted on the ARMS Discord, or maybe people can follow that to get more updates on what's going on. For me, I just wanted to do a shout out to everyone that's actually tuning in and watching this, and everyone here as well, because there was a lot of scheduling difficulties with this episode, but I'm super happy that you've all been patient with me and the show. And I'd also like to give a shout out to Diatonic, who ran the Up in Arms tournament, which was yesterday, which was the greatest tournament I've played in a long time in any game, and it was run by one guy, and it was 50 participants, and he even recorded the last the last matches there. So big ups to that guy, and hopefully we'll see
Very
more
cool.
tournaments of him in the future. As for Fellows in Arms, if you want more updates about the next episode or like what's coming up, you can follow me at Defur, and yes, that's how you pronounce it. And it's the same nickname on Twitch. I'm streaming ARMS now and then when I have the time and I'm not tired as shit. And I also will be streaming Splatoon coming up. Hopefully, I'll be really bad at
So
it.
hyped for
I tried demo, but mostly ARMS and
I wasn't able to.
I'm a vet at Splatoon.
I wasn't
Yeah.
able to. I was at college and my NAT type
Pretty
was
good.
strict.
yeah, you guys have to teach me, and
Pretty good.
I know that Sir Alligator wants to play that a lot as well. But yeah, mostly that. And for Fellows in Arms, just keep follow this channel, and I'll put up an event for the next episode. And also on Twitter, I always keep the next announcement for the Fellows in Arms as my pinned tweet. So if you're curious about that, it's gonna be there. Hopefully in the future, people will post it on Reddit, so it's not self-advertising for me. But we'll see about that. And I'm super excited because the next episode we will have been playing Max Brass and see how that is.
Yeah.
So without further ado, I think that's gonna be it for us today. So thank you everyone for watching as well, and thank you RobotoBoy, JayNite, and Eizak for joining me on the stream. I'll see you guys next time, and keep playing ARMS. All right, so see you everyone. Let's say bye to the stream here and to the VODs. Bye.
Max power.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.